I didn't fucking hell.
No.
No, it didn't ask us a second time.
Yeah, you've
I don't
already.
know.
It did.
Already done it. Yeah.
It did. You asked me again. Oh, don't tell her. You didn't. Sorry, I'm tired. Brain does not function very well whilst tired.
What are we doing?
I was just waiting for everyone to.
Judge Fred.
How can I break the silence? Judge Fred.
Hello. Oh, you can hear me. Good.
Before we start, I just want to say thank you to Ben for actually buying the fucking thing and letting us all use his Amazon so we didn't have to spend 10 quid each on this fucking shit.
That's great.
I didn't.
Sit down.
He's been locked out of his account. He's had a new password.
Amazon.
All at work.
Amazon are crying. They're like, "Why you keep doing this?"
Amazon thinks he's got 6 more computers.
Yeah.
I think next time we need to do this, I probably should just create a shared account for everyone.
Yeah, I was saying that earlier. Like, if we just have a shared account and a shared email and whatever, it's just easier, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was saying it as well.
Good.
Yeah, it is.
Mm.
Yeah. I'm glad we agree.
Mm.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Top quality.
Drink.
John, why did you pick this film?
Because I remembered it being a really fun, bad movie. And it unfortunately doesn't hold up as well as I remembered. But I still had fun with it. Not really much beyond that, really. I just remember it being really dumb and just like, I mean, yeah, but it was still fun. Made some notes for later, but I do have one bit of trivia that I don't know if Ben and Pat might already know. But did you know that most of this film was done in Uganda?
No, I didn't know
What the
that.
fuck's that?
I mean, I've kind of ruined it by saying it wrong anyway. So, sorry, it was Hangonder.
I still don't know where that is.
You must have heard of it, Pat. Say it out loud and then it might ring a bell.
Nah, don't.
He don't trust. I'd be enthralled here, and I don't trust this.
Okay, well, you obviously don't want to know about it then, that's fine.
I want to know, John. Tell me.
No, that's fine, don't worry about it.
Oh, Pat
Doesn't want to know, so no one will know. That's...
We will never know.
There you go, Pat. You've ruined it for everyone.
I ain't ruined shit.
Right,
Well, I'm going to Google.
let's get on with it then. Anyone other than Alec?
Judge Dreadful.
So, I mean, this might spark Alec off. I was reading earlier today, apparently Arnold Schwarzenegger was originally going to play Dredd. And for one reason or another, he turned it down and then told Sylvester Stallone about it. And to be fair, it might be another one of like Arnold Schwarzenegger's practical jokes, because apparently he told Sylvester Stallone that he turned down Stop or My Mum Will Shoot just so that Sylvester Stallone would take it. So it might have been another situation like that. But apparently he told Sylvester Stallone that he turned down the role, and then that was why Sylvester Stallone took it. And apparently Sylvester Stallone was the person who wanted to make it into a comedy. So he is who we can thank for Rob Schneider.
Oh.
Yeah, you're right. He wanted to one up Arnold Schwarzenegger, but the joke was on him. He knew it was going to be a crap film, so he rejected it, but said he was going for it after he rejected it. 'Cause they asked him first.
What do you think? Like, I mean, you could literally just swap out Sylvester Stallone for Arnold Schwarzenegger in most films, and it'd be the same film, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it wouldn't really be any different, you're right.
I mean, they have similar like stage presence in that they're just like big men who like give one-liners kind of thing.
And most importantly for this, they've both got quite strong chins.
Yeah.
I was also surprised to find out apparently the director is a big fan of Judge Dredd. And
Well,
He likes it for the intro.
But yeah, apparently like years and years before it was made, he entered a competition with 2000 AD. And the competition was basically to design a cinematic poster for Judge Dredd. And his drawing was actually printed in the comics. And basically on his poster, it was starring Harrison Ford, and it was directed by Ridley Scott. And that's a nice segue into another thing that I read, which really made me laugh. It was a review that said that Judge Dredd is basically Blade Runner for people with ADHD.
That sounds right.
About right, really.
But
Interesting.
we should point out that although Rob Schneider's character in this is terrible, he is also smarter than every person in the Batman universe. Sees the guy sitting next to him, he goes, "Hang on, oh yeah."
Rather a Schneider than a Snyder.
Rob Schneider cut.
To be fair, like, I mean, you guys probably talked about this already, but me and Rob were talking earlier, and that's like the only good scenes he has, where he goes, "I am the law," and it's odd.
There's like two lines in the whole film that work for me, like unironically, and so like that was one of them. That was the only line that I laughed at, that I think I was supposed to laugh at. And then the other one was the bit about the recycled food, where they're like, "It's good for the environment and it's okay for you." I was like, "Oh, that's quite a nice line," and then it sort of ended there.
Rob Schneider, like the rest of the movie, destroyed it.
And when did Rob say I'm the law?
It was quite near the start, I think. Like he did an impression of Judge Dredd saying it.
It's when they're on the prison ship.
Okay. Oh, that part. Oh yeah, I forgot.
What kind of got me was they kept focusing on his eyes. Like every time you see his face, they just had like a strip light across his face that made his eyes really bright. I was just like, really? Like you're trying to emphasize that he's a clone, like the whole film. It's like,
Speaking of clones, I did have to mark it down a little bit on production, because I thought the casting of what's his name, Armand Asante, is that it?
Yes.
Yeah, I was like, I mean, he's a good actor, and he arguably the best actor in the whole film. But like, if you're going to cast him for somebody who's meant to look like Sylvester Stallone, they haven't done a very good job.
Well, I'm not sure he was supposed to look like him, because like while they're like quote unquote clones, like it's never explained in the movie, so it's one of those things where it's just like, you know, whatever. But
That's not Face Off.
they didn't know that they were brothers, like, so clearly they weren't supposed to look alike.
Maybe I've misunderstood something then, because I thought the whole idea of it was that Judge Dredd was getting framed for something that he did.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, in terms of they've obviously like fucked up somewhere in the story, because they are saying they're genetically identical, which is why the gun thing worked. But at the same time, at no point do they seem to be like, oh, he was supposed to look the same as him, because he's not as big as him either, and like they don't. I feel like they look similar enough that they could be like cousins or something, but that's about it.
I feel like they'd be adopted cousins if they were.
Pretty.
I think
Awesome.
what when you really notice it is when they're face to face, like their side profiles are like, yeah, they look like they're from different planets.
What I found really funny is when they're in the Janus room, and for some reason, like I don't know if it's supposed to be like a symbolic thing of each individual moment that's going on in the conversation, but Stallone like steps down so he looks incredibly tiny next to
Yeah.
him. Like, and then like when it gets to the moment where he's going to be like "fuck you," he steps back up, and it was just really weird.
Some of the costume design was a little weird, I thought, because like those shoulder pads really made them all look tiny, and I was kind of like, I know it's kind of trying to stay faithful to the comics, I suppose, but like some things just don't work in live action.
That's always like, obviously they've gotten much better at that over the years, but that's always been a big problem with any adaptation of something. It's like you have to take some liberties with things to make it actually work. Like even like if you're trying to, I'm not sure there's any good live action anime things, but like the big thing for me with that is always going to be like the hair. Like they can't try and be fake to the hair because it looks dumb.
Yeah. Do you know, I read that apparently Versace designed the costumes.
Yeah.
And that really confused me because it's like this huge designer and like this really prestigious name, but it seems like all they did was like take a comic and go do that. Like,
I mean, to be fair, if they were told like not to stray from the design, there's not really much they could have done.
I just didn't understand why you'd get Versace to do that when it's already done.
I mean, I guess it depends what was available back then, like in terms of who you could trust to make a good thing. Like, I guess they would want them less for their like vision and more just for their ability to make it.
I don't think they made it. I think they literally just designed it. Like it's.
Well, then yeah, that's really dumb.
It's really sweet. I mean, I suppose the only thing that I can think of that they might have sort of added to it is like the singlet underneath. But yeah, I don't know. I don't get it.
Or the boots.
The boots maybe actually, yeah.
But yeah.
The going back to the assuming it's a mistake about I assumed it was a mistake about the identical twins or identical people or clones or whatnot. I just assumed they were kind of like unidentical twins in terms of cloning, because also Camilla was telling me something about the Janus project kind of thing and how they're like referencing Greek mythology and how Janus was like someone who had two faces basically, so two sides to the same being, referencing Dredd and Rico coming from the same place but ending up as two completely different people.
I don't know. It just seems a bit weird to me that they would be genetically identical, but they'd look so different.
Yeah, but they wouldn't. Yeah, I think that's just a mistake. And at the same time, the other guy who wanted the position for himself, he did falsify a lot of evidence. So I just assumed he falsified that too.
I think that was a thing that I found kind of strange as well, is that like the whole trial thing. Because I was kind of thinking like at every point up until now, you haven't bothered with this. You've just got to go, you're guilty. Someone said you were guilty. That's enough.
Judge, so it's different.
Huh?
He's a judge, so it's different. It was a corrupt system.
Yeah, that too. Also, why did they never why did he not have an alibi?
Well, it's irrelevant. Like unless he actually had an alibi with actual evidence, like video evidence. Like think of it in a report. If someone was to be like, "Oh yeah, no, he was with me," and then they show a video of the person there, and they've got DNA, it wouldn't fucking matter.
But that's the thing. They in the end, she got them to disregard the video as a possible fake. But then they had nothing else. I was like, he's someone who's either fighting the law all the time or sleeping. If he has no alibi, I'm like, cool. But it felt like there was a lot of things in the film anyway that was just like, oh, we'll just take the shortcut and just pass this off anyway.
I mean, yeah,
I get what you're saying.
I feel like if you're expecting to like them to worry about something like an alibi, then you've already gone in expecting too much from this movie.
To be honest, I think where the story really falls down is like I think like Dredd is so unlikable that you don't really give a shit about him going to jail for something he didn't do, because it's like, well, you've gone around like shooting people, and like at the very start of the film you told somebody that they should have like been killed just so that they would have stayed within the law. And it's like,
Yeah.
I don't think you not being on the streets would be a bad thing whether you did the crime or not.
Yeah, and like they don't do anything really to develop his character at all. Like, because like the whole thing with him is that he's clearly been desensitized, and all he cares about is the law because it's all he's got. But the only thing they do to address that is to tell you that he had to judge his best friend, and then to tell you that he was genetically made, so maybe that's why. But there's no like there's nothing comes from that. He's not like suddenly like, oh yeah, the law isn't everything. Like we need to use our own decisions as well. And like fair enough, they have that bit where it's like, oh, it feels good to be human, doesn't it? And it's like, but he's not still. Like he hasn't
Yeah.
really developed at all.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a few bits like that where, like, I think that the sort of the characters that they built up, like where they're like so straight, like it just makes it all so silly. Like the bit towards the end where Max von Sydow is like walking out into the desert, and it's like, I mean, obviously that'd be a very unpleasant thing, but I was thinking in that world, all you would need to do is kind of like I'm committing a crime, and then like a judge would come and shoot you, and it'd all be done. Like this.
Like the whole thing with him was dumb. Like, I don't know much about Dredd as a character in general, but him having like a father figure felt weird to me straight away, just from how the characters seem to be trying to be portrayed anyway. But then the fact that he dies in a really dumb way, and then even when Dredd is like trying to take out the guy who just potentially killed the person he considers to be his father, he's still taking time to make quips, like, and he runs the electric like cable over his metal being like, look, guess what I'm gonna do? And it's like, all right, dude, come on. And then possibly the worst acting moment in the movie is when he actually dies, because he's like, don't die, and then he goes, he just laughed. Like it was so hammy, it was ridiculous.
But we're missing the main point here, that he actually takes his helmet off, which was like a massive
I wondered
thing,
when
wasn't
that
it?
was going to come up.
I mean,
it's so much earlier than I remembered as well. I thought it was like the final act, he takes it off.
No,
Yeah,
It
they don't
doesn't
give a shit, do they?
it was like 15 minutes in, not even that, 10 minutes in, and he fucking takes his helmet off, and it's like, nope.
He's got to get his face in there, don't he?
not only does he take his helmet off really early, he spends quite a lot of the movie without his helmet
Yeah,
on.
helmet.
Yeah, he might as well be just Judge Fred.
You really like that one, didn't you, Ben? I mean, that's the thing, though. Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, I mean, I don't mind him taking the helmet off as a thing, but like, I don't know. Because the whole thing that annoys me about it is that they wanted to make it a comedy, but Judge Dredd is already like a satire. And in the comics, like, there's like scenes of him like, like sitting on the toilet in his helmet or having a bath in his helmet and that kind of stuff. So you could have done that kind of comedy in the film rather than having Rob Schneider.
Well, that's the thing. Like I mean, we talked about this a bit earlier, but like the two things from what you just said is, first of all, like my comparison was, it's like people like Boris Johnson and Trump and Nigel Farage, like they're fucking hilarious, but just because they're ridiculous. If like
I don't know.
if they was to become like self-aware and try and be funny, it would immediately not be. So that's why, like, the majority of the time Rob Snyder says or does anything, you're just like, all right, dude, stop.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, like, obviously there's the significance of the helmet thing. I don't think there's anything wrong with him taking it off, because it's a movie, and like they might wanna just have that moment. But it should have been earned. Like, it should have been like, when he thought he was about to die or like something at the end of the movie. Like, it shouldn't have been like 10 minutes in, and he's like, oh, I'm just in the shower room. Like, oh.
He's just a normal guy, which is.
I wonder if it was like studio in there. So this is the thing as well, actually, because like if he'd have kept his helmet on, then I wouldn't have had the problem with the clone thing either. But I wonder if it was just the studio going like, we can't have a film where Sylvester Stallone is in it, and we spent all this money on Sylvester Stallone, and nobody knows that it's Sylvester Stallone.
I'm pretty certain it's that, because they wouldn't have probably got this film made if they didn't have a massive star like him.
The problem I have with that though is like there's two problems with that. One, I don't think there's anyone who would fucking not know that Sylvester Stallone, both from
his voice at least, yeah,
and from his like genuinely, you would. How would you not know it's him?
Yeah.
So, with that, just brings up another problem in that he kept his helmet on the whole time. The clone thing would still be an issue because like Rico wouldn't be wearing a helmet the whole time. So you'd be like, oh, is that what he looks like? But you'd know it's Sylvester Stallone still, and you'd be like, well, I mean, no.
Yeah. Also, I think it's just because of Sylvester Stallone's what he wanted. I would say most people like him have demands in having their face shown for like most of the movie. If they actually are going to do it.
Maybe.
This happens a lot, so.
I wonder if it was also his idea to do the whole "I knew you'd say that" thing.
Probably, because if he turned it into a comedy, he was probably like, "Oh, yeah, like, oh, fuck Arnold, I'll get this catchphrase, and I'll be back."
But it's shit. That's the problem. It's just an awful catchphrase.
The thing that annoyed me is
too much.
The thing that annoyed me is he just kept saying it. Like there wasn't one point where he actually did predict what someone was going to say. He just kept telling them that he knew they'd say that. I just wanted somebody to be like, "No, you didn't."
That's the thing about it. Like, there's so many things wrong with it. One, it sounds dumb. Two, it is dumb because, like you say, it doesn't mean anything. It's like you say, it's what people say when they're like, "Oh yeah, I mean, I knew that," like just being a dick. But also, they change it once. Like most of the way through the movie, it's "I knew you'd say that," and then at least one time he's like, "I knew you'd do that," and I was like, "Wait, that's not your catchphrase. What are you doing? You can't just change it."
It's fucking bizarre, man. It's bizarre. There's a lot of that that's bizarre, man.
Why did Rob Schneider, after falling down in the incinerator thing, not bother to get up?
Because
like Camilla was just like, "What are you doing? Why did you just lay there?"
I mean,
you're now running like you have. There's no problem with your legs. You just couldn't be bothered to get up.
I mean, that's the kind of thing that I don't think you can pick at in a movie because it's like it's a movie. If he just got up and ran, then there wouldn't be anything like going on with that.
No dramatic effect.
He's just doing incontinent like granddad running though, and it's like I'm in a rush, but he's doing like steps like not more than this, and I was just like, I don't think you had enough tune, did you?
I will with the catchphrase though, there was one good pack with it, and that was just Hershey being like, "You say that," like because just that I don't care how old you are, when people do that to you, it evokes a reaction no matter who you are, like whether you hide it or not. If someone starts going like you're like just immediately, and I just find it really funny.
You know, in the novelization of the film, apparently Rob Schneider's character dies, and the only kind of difference between him dying in the novelization and in the film is that end scene when he turns up on a hospital bed and he's like, "Oh, I'm okay as well." And it's like, I can only imagine that like the novelization was like the original script, and then they were like, "No, we need one more punchline," and then everyone on screen ignores it, and everyone at home probably ignored it as well. And it's
that scene is like most of the movie. If you just took Rob out, it wouldn't make any difference. But that last scene encapsulates everything wrong with his character in the movie, because he's like, "Oh yeah, I taught him everything he knew," and then no one's reacting, and then they're just carrying on. He's like, "Oh, I'm definitely a better kisser though." And it's like, dude, shut up! Like, no one cares.
I've been in plagues that are funnier than Rob Schneider. Like, I don't know why anyone was like, we need a comic relief actor. Let's get him in. I'm just like, he is overacting so much that I'm just like, oh, dude, you're just fucking bad at this. It's not even like incompetence. It's just quit.
Well, the thing is, like, I unironically like Rob Schneider in general. Like, I think he's a good actor, and I think he's funny, like, in general. But like, so I don't know whether it's his fault or if it's the director's fault. Like, I don't know if he was told to act the way that he was, or if he was just doing it, and then they were all like, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I think he was a gun for hire. They kind of like, do what you do. We want you for this reason, just to give it a comic relief kind of thing. That's what films, isn't it? That's what those films in that time, just like, we have to have this, and that's what they did with him.
We need some comedy, but we need it to be as unfunny as possible. And then they went, I know just the guy.
Well, this was around the time that he would have been on Saturday Night Live. So I suppose it's that kind of like over the top, unfunny humour in it.
But this is the way that it's just there's so many scenes that are like the bad kind of funny, and it just being like funny on its own, and then you realize Rob Schneider's there and that he's going to pull a face and probably say something, and then you go, oh, all right.
Well, it's like when Stallone actually comes out first, I was like, I'm in for a good time here. And he comes out, he goes, I am the law. And I was like, yeah, here we go. He kind of walks in and he's got these giant plastic shoulders and a morph suit. And he's like, the guns are only effective in a 200-meter range. We are 300 meters, so we are safe. And I was like, please get shot. Please get shot. That would be fucking hilarious, please. Nothing.
What the fuck's that accent?
Exactly. I don't know what accent he's trying to do, but it's not good. But yeah, and then Rob Schneider keeps coming back in, and I was like, come on, you're so unfunny. You're negating how funny Stallone is.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I was just going to say, like, I mean, Rob knows this already, but I completely forgot that Rob Schneider was in this movie. I don't know if it's been over 10 years since I've seen this, but I think it says a lot that my memory of this was like, oh, yeah, that was really fun. And that's probably because I forgot Rob Schneider was in it, and I just remembered Stallone as Dredd. Like, even just in that first scene, like, he shows up like that, like in the classic superhero pose. And then I even noticed later on when he's standing there with Rico doing that thing where they like have their arms behind their back a little bit so it like puffs out their chest and they look like have that weird like strong gait to them, and I was like, fucking hell, man, like, what are you doing?
That's the thing, because like the same thing happened to me, because I remembered it being quite enjoyable, and then Alex started talking about Rob Schneider and I was kind of like, oh, I don't remember him being in it too much, so like I'm sure it's fine. And then I got about half an hour in and I was like, wow, he's in it a lot.
I was absolutely just like, this is my first watch of it, and I was sort of like, he can only be in it for the beginning, like he can't come back into it, and then he just kept coming back.
He's like the main character.
We can't just go back in and say cursed earth pizza, and I was like, and then like he's like stopping things from happening, like they're trying to work out a plan, and he comes in and he goes, oh hey, I haven't got the computer working, but I did get the microwave working. Do you want some popcorn? And I was like, fuck off, something's happening. Like,
well, see, again, like they're trying to do the well, first of all, what Dan said is kind of a point, which is that it starts with Rob Schneider, so like he's kind of the protagonist in a way.
Yeah.
But yeah, like they were trying to do the whole straight man, funny man thing, and it just didn't work.
No.
Even that scene that you were just talking about.
Yeah.
Like,
it doesn't work in this. Oh, sorry.
But the thing about Judge Dredd, right, he's supposed to be this hard ass fucking quip kind of machine.
Wait, Dan,
What?
John wasn't finished.
What?
That's why I stopped. Sorry.
I feel like I might have to do a reminder at the start of every call while we're still using Zoom that if any of you talk, you can't hear me.
Sorry.
So I have to pause for a second,
Sorry.
and then Dan.
Sorry.
No, it was like that scene that Alec was talking about. Like they're about to have this like slightly romantic moment, and then he just comes in and it's like, oh wah wah. It's like, but no, like it was a fucking ridiculous whatever's going on anyway. You didn't need that. I do have some stuff here, but I'll let Dan and Emmanuel go first. So and then I'll look at my
I
notes.
forgot.
The only thing I was gonna say, huh?
I said good really angrily.
The only thing I was gonna say was that I haven't seen Rob Snyder in much. I've seen his face many places, but I don't think I watched many movies with him in. The one I did like with him in is later in his career is 50 First Dates, which I really liked. But the character in that film worked very, very well. Like you saying, the character they were trying to get him to play in this didn't work for this film. And I think it's mainly the direction they were trying to go with it rather than Rob Snyder himself. I mean, yes, Rob Snyder is Rob Snyder, but you don't cast Rob Snyder for this film, or if you do, you don't get him to act that way. It's just it wasn't going to work for this film.
Could have just stopped it there. Just like, you don't get him to act.
Well, it's like you wouldn't cast like Michael Caine or Morgan Freeman to play a funny man character, would you?
Speaking of things that you would and wouldn't do, I did want to get your opinions on something actually. So I saw an interview with Rob Schneider talking about his character, and he said, what's his name? Fergie? Is that his name?
Yeah.
So he was like, "Oh, Fergie is an everyman. He's scared. He's trying to survive, and to survive, he would throw his own mother down the stairs." Would any of you guys do that?
No.
First of all, he's not an everyman. He's a criminal because he's a hacker. Like,
yeah,
let's get that out there first. And yeah, second of all, he might be quote unquote trying to survive, but I feel like if you go into a situation where you're supposed to be living somewhere and there are loads of people in there with guns, like fair enough, you probably wouldn't necessarily be able to leave because they've got guns. But I also don't think you'd be handing them ammo.
Yeah.
And yeah, I wouldn't throw my mum down the stairs to save myself.
Like when he said it, it just kept unraveling because he was like, "Yeah, he's an everyman," and I was like, "Is he?" And then the more he explained it, I was like, "I don't think you know any of these words that you're saying."
Exactly. Like the part afterwards where he hacks the recycle robot and goes inside of it. I was just like, when you said every man, it's like the average guy, woman would not have done that. They would have just ran once they got the chance and got well away from that place where everyone's shooting, judges are coming down. You want nothing to do with it. You don't want any ties to this, folks. You just saw Judge Dredd. You don't want to get judged. You want to get out of Dodge.
But then he won't be in the film.
I'll be honest, Emmanuel, I feel very sorry for you if you haven't seen Rob Schneider in more things, because like I think if this is like your first like go of him and then you see him in his face in motion for the first time, you know that meme about how Emilia Clarke's eyebrows do a lot of her acting? That's his whole face. Like he just can't, and it's just too much, and I'm just so I feel sorry that you had to kind of encounter that like all at once, like in the first go.
No, it's okay. It's my second time, but the first time I remember him, I was saying 50 First Dates, but I liked him in 50 First Dates. I thought that was a good film, but his character worked in that.
The other, like going back to the droid bit, like that's also just in general like a good bit, kind of like basically what Emmanuel said. It's just like he was in there handing them ammunition because he was scared of them shooting him. I can accept that for the character, not for an everyman, but for the character. But then, yeah, if he has the opportunity and the time to be able to go and like open up that droid and get in it, which bearing in mind it moves very slowly, so it's pretty likely to get shot. It's a dumb idea, and no one would do it.
I think it's the thing. I think by everyman he means cowardly loser.
Yeah.
And it's like, that was a nice implied insult there.
I mean, Rob Snyder's best character in movies is the "you can do it" character.
You can do it.
He's barely in the movie.
That is the ideal.
Like he has a catchphrase and he uses it a couple of times. One of the movies, I think they use it once too much. I don't remember which one, but then they use it too much, and yeah.
Because he's in Waterboy and
Little Nicky.
Little Nicky. He's in
Little
the
Nicky.
golf?
Basically Adam Sandler's mate is what you're saying.
Oh,
Yeah.
Waterboy.
Because what's the one with the golf? Happy Gilmore. He's in that as well.
Happy Gilmore's like one of the only Adam Sandler movies I haven't seen.
It's his best one.
One of the only old ones I haven't seen.
Ooh.
But yeah, unless anyone has anything specific to talk about, I want to quickly go through my notes. When I say notes, I've written 4 words down.
I'm curious as to what they are.
While we're just on the opening, I was gonna say that Rob Schneider overacting and being caught in the droid and stuff was really throwing the tone off for me from what I like, because he said not to watch it as a Judge Dredd film, and I was like, okay, what's the tone here? So Stallone coming in and doing that, like doing the whole thing of like, oh, they're only effective, and I was like, okay, all right, fine. And then someone gets killed, and then like everyone's shooting and stuff, and then she says something to him, and she's just like, oh yeah, nice going with the emotions there. And he goes, emotions should make them illegal, and I was like, right, this is a shit film. This. I was like,
Called bad movie, Alec.
yeah, no, it's just all the combination of things, and I was just like, you're not only not funny, but you're also not aware that you're not funny. Like the tone you've set up here is preposterous. So you're not going to play on it at all, but you are going to tell really bad jokes. Sorry.
As a note to add on to that, Camilla barely made it through this film. She really wanted to cut it off, and it made me laugh because I was like, "That's how I am with most films." So welcome to how I feel. She was so annoyed throughout the film.
Emmanuel,
That was through the second rewatch.
I've got an important question for you. Are you sure you want to be part of something called Film Club?
I enjoyed this with you guys. This is why I'm here. Not for the crap films.
Wait a minute.
Basically, Emmanuel's just Jesus. He just suffers for us.
But no, I do enjoy this. Okay.
But yeah, so the 4 words that I've written down, which is just 2 separate things, is never apologized and double whammy.
Oh god, the fucking double
Oh, double whammy.
Well, that kind of contextualized a problem I remember Rob having, because with Dredd, he goes hot shot, and he sort of says it to mock someone, but it's also a very surreptitious way of activating the thing on his gun. He wants to do a specific thing. Whereas with that scene, he's going across and he's just saying shit, and he's like, signal flare, double whammy, kick in the balls, football in the groin, and it's like, oh.
Tell you what, I do think that this one is more watchable than Dredd, but I do.
Wait, what?
Rob, we are not friends.
Yeah.
No, 2012 was so much better.
Well, it was
Artistic
just-
beauty.
I don't know.
It was
I have
fucking
more
great
fun
film.
with this one. But
It's a funner film, but it's no way as good.
I don't particularly like either of them, to be fair.
Well, this wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. So I was actually okay with this one. So,
I found it just bland enough to be more offended at it.
I think the thing about it is because they've got the rights to make a Judge Dredd film. We've got to fit in all the bits that make it Judge Dredd. So they're like, oh, he's got a gun with multiple ammo, and he can tell it to do stuff. So they're like, do it in one scene for 20 seconds, and he's just like,
guns with multiple ammo.
Yeah, it literally is just the whole scene where he's explaining his gun. It's like when he talks about the guns, and then he talks about the armor, and then the bike, and it's just like you're just being so fucking ham-fisted with, like, not letting the people kind of make like understand what it is. They're just like, this is it, force feeding you. It's like, no.
But yeah, so the double whammy thing, pretty much exactly what Alex said. Is I was gonna say like how, in Dredd, Hotshot is kind of, for the tone of the movie, it's a little bit silly, but in context it's fine and it's not like that bad. But double whammy is just fucking ridiculous. And the fact that all it does is shoot out 2 bullets.
Mine doesn't shoot out 2, but it shoots them out like that.
Not an effective shot. Like it
wasn't one after the other.
Like...
That would have been fine. But it goes.
Imagine having that gun and like knowing it's going to shoot in a V formation and just sort of like happen to eyeball it every time.
You can. No, go on, Dan.
I was going to say, it's that thing of like, oh, I've got to know that there's 2 people in front of me that are really close, and he just does it without seeing them. He's just like, bang. It's like,
that's exactly what I was going to say. Like, you can argue that he's highly skilled and whatever, but he knows where they were 2 seconds ago. Like, I know this is like suspension of disbelief stuff because it's a movie, but when there's too many like fallacies on top of each other, you start being like, okay, no, I can't take that anymore. And, like, kind of silly. But yeah, the other thing, which is a very minor thing, but I noticed it for a couple of reasons, is the scene when they're about to go into the incinerator, and he's like, I'm not going anywhere until you apologize to me. He's like, I've never apologized. And then I'm like, bitch, you fucking apologized earlier in the movie. Specifically, because when you did it, I thought, that's really weird for this character already. Because it's literally...
When did he apologize?
That's what I was about to say. It's literally when they frame him for the murder and he's in prison, and the chief...
Sorry.
And then Chief Justice comes in, and then they have the conversation. And about to leave, he goes, "Sorry for that," or "Sorry about this," I think he says. And I was like, "That's a bit weird." Like, I don't know much about Dredd from like in general. Like, this movie was my first exposure to Judge Dredd, and then like the more recent one was pretty much the only other exposure I had to it. But just from even just that movie on its own, just from the character they're trying to portray, I'm like, why is he apologizing? It's weird. And then later on in the movie, he's just like, I've never apologized. It's like, you literally have.
That's the thing, though. Like, I can only assume that they put that in to set up a later joke, and then when they actually got to the punchline, they forgot that they set it up. Like, maybe they wrote the first bit of the punchline, and they was going to have somebody go, "Yes, you have. You apologised earlier," and then they just forgot to write that bit. I don't know.
The scene after that was so weird for me as well, because like that's when he gets back in the uniform, and I was like, "Oh yeah, it's Judge Dredd." Whoops. Like, I absolutely fucking forgot.
That reminds me of that stupid scene where like he knocks the judge out, and then he starts like taking his uniform off to take it, and then Rob Schneider's like, "Oh, we don't have time for that," and he's just like,
"Nice going, Rob Schneider. That was a great joke."
There's no need for that comment.
More like Knob Snyder.
Hey.
But yeah, like there's so many ridiculous things in this. Like the plot in general is pretty dumb. Like the whole cloning thing is silly. Actually, yeah, I just remembered another thing that really just annoyed me. You had that female researcher who...
I hate female research.
She clearly knew Rico because they had that interaction, and she clearly didn't like him and thinks he's insane. But then he just goes, "I know why I'm working with him. Why are you?" And then she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm a bad girl now. I'm gonna put on an outfit that makes me stand out a bit more, and I'm literally just here so that we can have a little bit of a bitch fight with someone who's literally a trained killer, and then so I can just call her a bitch, and then she can go, 'Judge bitch,' and headbutt."
Can I just say that bit when the robot is flailing around was when I like remembered I was a human and laughed for the first time in the whole runtime, because he's like flailing around, and the actor has to jump in the way of it. He goes, "Ugh," and then the girl goes, "Ugh, Rico." It's just shot in the worst way possible.
That was going to be my point, John. I was going to say about that woman where she's like totally against him doing it, and next thing she's like, "Oh, I'm your best friend. I'm gonna shoot. I'm just like, this doesn't make any sense."
Fight some people for you, exactly. She like her first way the character was set up. She would not be fighting for Rico. She'd be like, "Well, yeah, they're coming.
Well, this is.
Let me just eat some popcorn."
There's like obviously there's no point introducing a character if you're not going to do something with them. So when they introduce her, you're like, okay, so we know that the new Chief Justice is like not necessarily evil, but he's incredibly misguided in what he wants to do. And then this woman might be like the tethering agent. Like she's kept this project alive as such, but not necessarily because she knows what he's planning on doing with it. Like she clearly seemed to be against it on some level. And then not only does she allow Rico to put his DNA in there, she then just goes, "Oh yeah, fuck it, he's hot," and then decides that
to let him put his DNA in her.
Yeah, exactly. Like she's like, "Oh well, I'm all about Janus. If Janus gets some, I want some." But it's just so dumb. Like I know old movies don't portray women very well in general, but it's just so bad. Like they go out of their way to have Hershey, who's like, okay, fair enough, she's pretty, so you know, I'm not saying you have to cast like bad looking women because that'd be stupid, but she clearly can take care of herself. Like I think they said she's only been on the streets for like a year, which, first of all, that's not enough time for a character like Judge Dredd to trust someone. So that's already weird. But she comes off as an experienced officer, and I guess in their little bubble, a year is a long fucking time. But they make her out to be this strong, independent woman character who can take care of herself. Like she even gets the Judge Dredd when he's like in her house. But then they just go, "Oh no, let's have her fight this complete nobody who probably has no combat training." And yeah, just so they can have a bitch fight, basically. Like it's just really there's a lot wrong with the movie, but I feel like that really does it like massively. It's like pouring like just water all over it.
I've got to say, I didn't expect to come out of this one thinking that Superman's mum was quite fit when she was younger.
I mean, attractive now.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, yeah, I think they with the lady who's been in the force for a year, I think they were trying to play the genius angle, which I don't think they did well enough. But I think they were trying to go for that, and that's why she's meant to come across as being like really good in everything. But
see, the problem even with that is that they doubled down on it, so it didn't make sense. Like they, she's the top of her class in this, that, and the other. So like that's why he selected her to be his defense. When first of all you'd expect Judge to be like, you'd expect Dredd to just be like, "No, I'll defend myself."
Yeah.
So they make her out to be like amazing, and then they get a quote unquote genius involved to help out, and it's just like, well, why have you got two of these characters now? Like, well, why couldn't that just have been one of the things that she was like really good at? There was no reason for that extra character.
Also, why didn't they have Judge Anderson in the film?
I don't think Judge Anderson is an established like character before the Carl Urban film. I'm talking completely out of my arse, by the way. I have no idea. But no, that's what I'm saying.
Are you sure? Because
reasonably sure the character was created for the film. I think I'll look that up actually.
Yeah, I'm looking it up now as well.
Oh, okay. Well, Pat's on it.
She's actually quite a well-established character in the Judge Dredd universe.
Yeah, but then they couldn't have done the Rico thing.
No, but instead of having whatever her name is, the female judge, it would have been Anderson.
Anderson's no, but then like if it's well established that she has like those mutated powers or whatever, then that would be a whole different thing that they'd have to do. And they clearly didn't want that. They couldn't bitch fight if she was just going wow 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 wow.
Yeah, they weren't very good at doing things in this film. So.
Well, that's also something that you couldn't have, because it works in the original film because sorry, it works in the first Dredd film we watched because like Dredd isn't anybody, whereas in this one like Dredd's actually like a very important character, and he's like really close to the like administrator, and like he's like got a clone brother and all that, and you couldn't have you can have a psychic running around in the middle of that, whereas when he's just an agent, then yeah, that's completely fine. So having not including Anderson if she's a character in this universe. Pat, help me out.
Right, so I've just looked it up, and she was first introduced in 1980.
Well, Cox. Yeah, there you go.
Also, just going back to your old mate Rob Snyder, do you know how he ended up getting cast for this?
He blew everybody in Hollywood.
No.
Ball tickling technique.
This was actually the second film he was in with Sylvester Stallone. The previous one he was in with him, he made Stallone laugh so much that he wanted him to be in this one with him. The previous film he was in was Demolition Man.
Oh.
What you're saying is Rob Snyder is just a parasite, and he tried to latch on to Stallone and it didn't quite work out, so he just went back to Adam Sandler and was like, look mate, sorry, can we
he was aware that Stallone had taken one too many punches to the head, and it was like, this is the guy I can make laugh.
Do you know what's quite funny about that as well is that he wasn't even the first choice for the role. First choice was Joe Pesci.
Oh,
what?
Yeah,
that would have been hilarious.
I could see him playing a similar character. He'd just have been a bit more aggressive.
That'd have been great. Just seeing like his Home Alone character, like in this, like that'd have been fine.
Yeah. Back to the Anderson thing. Like the other reason that wouldn't have worked is because of the wearing a helmet all the time thing. Because, like, yeah, you could just have her not using her powers, but like her having her helmet off the whole movie in Dredd was important, and Dredd having his helmet on the whole time was important. You just wouldn't have had that dynamic, and it would have been weird.
Yeah, that's the thing with the original, the first Dredd we watched. Like it's actually like in service of like character stuff. And she's actually using her psychic abilities like quite cleverly, and I don't think cleverly is really within this film's remit. So yeah. I feel like they'd go, let's just not think about it, and let's not even bother opening that Pandora's box. Diane Lane's going to punch a lady.
I tell you what they've done if they'd used her is they'd have established that she had powers, and she would have only ever used them once, and it would have been on some random guy. And they wouldn't show anything happening. They would just show her like making like a squinty face, and then he'd poop his pants. And
yeah, it would be that, wouldn't it?
It would have been used for convenience and then forgotten about, and then not used in times when it could have been used.
Well, they could have had just Anderson and Dredd in a room together, and Anderson going, "What was he thinking about?" And then it just goes to Dredd, and he's like, "Oh,
I'm all."
He's just in naked. With his helmet on, going, the law.
That's what he does with his outfit.
Put the scales on the table, lady.
Another bit that's kind of silly, but it's a very
silly.
It's a very minor thing that doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. But I just was thinking of it now, and I was like, yeah, that's actually silly. It's just the plan to get back into the city of going through the incinerator, because he was talking about, I mean, unless I'm remembering this wrong, I'm pretty sure he was talking about 2 escaped convicts were trying to get out of the city using that, right? Not get in, get out. And they failed to get out, running away from the source of the fire. And he was like, we can do it. But but then also just how they get in makes no sense, because like the fire, I I meant to rewind and watch this bit again to see if it actually happens, but like I don't know if they turn around at one point, because the fire comes from behind them, but regardless of whether they do or don't, it still doesn't make sense, because the bit they drop down to, like it's going in the same direction they were going, and it takes them into the city. So that should have been towards the fire.
Yeah.
So like even just from a like planning perspective, it's really dumb.
I think equally, just like all the stakes get destroyed in that one. I mean, obviously there are no stakes currently. Well, at that point in the film, but he's like, we need to do it in like a minute. There's no time for fucking mistakes, and then they're just sort of running very awkwardly, not doing their full stride or anything because the tube isn't long enough to do their full stride. And then Rob Schneider falls over, and I was like, he's dead. I'm sorry, he's dead. And then he's like, Dredd, you got to come back for me. And Dredd's like, and the Schneider's like, come back for me. And he's like, and I'm like, you're dead. You're dead. You're dead. And it's just like, nah, it's not dead.
He cares. Like for someone who he's registered as a criminal and who hasn't helped him in any way up to that point, at least, he shouldn't give a single shit about. Like, but he seems to, he cares far too much about him in many scenes.
Which doesn't make any sense at that point. I was expecting him just to be like, okay, and then just go, and keep going. And then that's when Rob Schneider would have died. I was like, okay, cool. He's dead. Wait, what? You went back? Goodness sakes.
And like, again, I don't know much about the Dredd character in general, but just from watching the other movie, which I feel like is generally perceived as like a million times more faithful, it's weird that it's not so much weird that he'd like have emotions, because you know, regardless of how stoic he is, he still has them. But just the idea that a hostage situation would work on him, like when they've got Hershey held by the robot, I feel like the character that they tried to portray, even in this movie up to that point, would have just been like, nah, fuck it, just shot him. Like,
just remember that hostage situation is ridiculous because like Rico's going like, yeah, tear all her arms and legs off, and then Dredd's like, no, and then the scriptwriter went, I can't actually like do that, and then Rico's like, oh, okay, actually, robot, tear all his arms and legs off and take it to her, and then he drops Diane Lane and goes for Stallone, and I was like, yeah, nice.
No, that's even the weirder thing.
Fucking seamless.
Like well, this actually brings me to two things thinking about it. First of all, is that he does that. He's like, rip her arms and legs off, and then he's like, no. It's like, okay, rip his head off and give her his head. And it's like, well, why is he getting it lighter than she did? Like, you clearly want to punish people here. But also, like, maybe you could argue it's just the character of Rico being chaotic or whatever, but up to this point, he seems to have, like, he definitely wanted Dredd to suffer. Like, we know that. But he seemed to have no problem with the idea of him dying, and even encouraged it. But then when they actually meet, he's like, we could join together. And it's like, well, hang on. Why do you care now? Like, like
you're about to rip his head off.
Like, well, that's the thing. Like most of the story, the motivations and stuff are kind of all over the place. Even like the fucking council scene where it's like they all decide from this really unconvincing argument to release a project that they all because it was a really bad idea, and then they all unlock it and then go, no, that was a bad idea. Yeah, but you're the Chief Justice, so you have to relock it. Oh, you're not gonna? Oh, fuck.
Oh, that was so dumb.
That didn't really make sense at all.
A lot didn't make sense in this film. If the things that didn't make sense in this film didn't happen, the film would have ended so quickly.
It would literally been half an hour of Sylvester Stallone's out in law.
I am the law.
But the stupid thing about that whole thing with the council is it's literally 1 minute they say yes, and then literally 2 minutes later they're going, oh no, we shouldn't do this. It's like,
Well, that's what I'm saying. It wasn't even 2 minutes later. It was like 5 seconds, and
oh,
then
it was the same
Exactly.
scene.
yeah,
Like,
because I would understand if after he goes, Chief Justice, unlock, or whatever the fuck he says, he then like had a bit of a monologue, or like Rico came in then, and then they had the realization of like, oh shit, this was a bad idea. Like that I would accept. But instead, as far as I remember, he unlocks it and then's like, yeah. And then they go, oh, actually, bad idea. You know, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
He does.
What's that in hindsight?
Yeah, they're like, oh, you know, they say that you should like you shouldn't make decisions on an empty stomach, and
it's like, I really need a piss. Like, just get on with it.
desperate for a wee.
I gotta go to the toilet, and they're like, wait a minute, that was a bad decision.
No, what happened was they had the real like as soon as they did it, they had relief and they all urinated themselves, and then were like, oh shit, that was a bad.
Oh,
I feel like I zoned out for like 5 seconds and missed something enormously crucial, and then everyone's talking about pissing themselves.
talking
No,
about
we're just
that.
talking about not on an empty stomach, the relief from making a bad decision. What I was
I mean, in the film.
I was half expecting the last guy, after the lady, to be like, you know what? No, I'm not, and it adds some kind of tension, and then maybe he goes crazy and says, "Well, I'm gonna kill you if you don't," kind of thing, and then everyone's held hostage, and he's just like, okay, it's like.
Well, that's the thing. Like that kind of scene is pretty typical in movies, where it's like, you know, you need multiple people to do a thing, and one of them, like, no, I won't do it, and then they like threaten them, and they have to do it, and that would have worked fine. But talking about pissing yourself, reminds me of that other really dumb scene where Rob Schneider's like, are you gonna want to clean this bike after? And he's like, oh, he's like, sorry, and like he's clearly not joking. But it's not funny.
Yeah.
It's not just that. It's the fact that how would Judge Dredd not know that someone had pissed on his back?
He's Judge Dredd. He knows what's legal and that's not legal.
He didn't piss on his back then. He pissed in his pants, and the wind is going that way, so he might not even smelt it.
Don't piss in the wind. Don't eat in the snow.
You'd feel it, right? If you're so close to each other, you'd fucking feel it on your back.
Dan,
don't stand in your own shit.
Way.
The thing was, I never knew his dad was dead.
He didn't have a dad.
Oh.
His dad was the scientist who made him.
Yeah.
In fact, we got a lovely precursor to Thanos in this movie, where he evaporated his mum and dad.
Oh, fucking hell, that scene. Just when he was like, oh yeah, no, everything's really, it's a good fake. It's a really good fake. I just need to remove all these elements that are fake. And then he takes away all the original photo and he puts like a real baby in front of a Photoshop background. And I was like, no.
Favorite part of it is he goes through them all. Like, I'm fine with him being able to do it because he says like, oh, this is actually really like incredible fake. And then he says for 20 years ago, like, so it's like, okay, fine. But then he's like, okay, so remove the elements, the dad, the mum. And then he says foreground. And I didn't see anything change. They did the like, woo, but I don't think anything changed.
It goes wobbly, and then it just appears. The background appears.
There also wasn't really a foreground.
No, it wasn't. It's the background that changed, not the
It's
foreground.
A fucking photo. Dreadful.
I've been doing a little bit of reading about the sort of like the production behind it. And you know, at the start I said like, I was really surprised to find out that the director was actually a big fan of Dredd. I think I was a little bit unfair there because I'm just reading now. So
I don't think you were.
well, no, because apparently the director.
I think you were completely in your rights.
Well, the director also wrote it, right? And apparently, the original idea was it was going to be like really dark and satirical. But apparently, Sylvester Stallone came in and he was like, "No, this needs to be an action comedy." And the studio sided with him, and it got rewrote like loads and loads of times. And then after it had been rewritten however many times, Sylvester Stallone admitted he'd never heard of Judge Dredd before.
I feel like we should have gone with John's thing, where someone should have gone.
That's
How bad was that? It would have been a good film then.
Well, maybe.
it might have been decent though.
It might have been, but it was still in a time where they didn't really know how to make movies of that kind.
Oh God,
Apparently, as well, the director was so disheartened with the final product of this film that he swore that he'd never work with a self-obsessed actor again.
Nice.
There you go.
Like, if you're not like a huge name director, that you can't. I mean, this is what we were talking about before, like a week ago or so, or something. Like, until you make a name for yourself, you kind of have to be open to the fact that your vision won't be what you actually end up seeing.
Mm.
Could you imagine you write a script and you're like, get it all ready, and then you're like, cool, we got Sylvester Stallone. I mean, he was cool back then, but it's like, hey, we got Sylvester Stallone in, that'd be cool. And then he cut and we're like, here you go, Sly, here's the script. And he goes, I want to bring in Rob Schneider. And it's like, fuck.
It's actually crazy, man. Apparently, like the arguments between the director and Sylvester Stallone were like so sort of explosive that the director wasn't even allowed on set a lot of the time.
What?
Crazy, isn't it? Crazy.
Bother like letting him be involved with it if you're not going to let him be involved with it. Like, but even worse than what you just said, Alec. Think of it from this perspective. You write this like script that you're really proud of, and you're like, yeah, this will do Judge Dredd justice. I really think Arnold Schwarzenegger would be like a good cast for this. What? He doesn't want it. Oh, but his mate will. Oh no. Like, it was all potentially a joke to Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he crushed someone's dream.
Fuck, Arnold Schwarzenegger would have been so much fucking better with that.
That's because he's got a greater personality.
Yeah. Agreed. Also, he was the former governor of California, so you know he would have been fucking ideal.
But as in terms of an actor, he wouldn't have been that much of an improvement.
But he'd have already had experience being in charge of a dystopian nightmare world. So
yeah, but that doesn't translate into a better film, though, does it?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's more a Dredd film.
To be fair, though, if you take Sylvester Stallone out of this, then the director actually might have made the film that he wanted to make. So it probably does translate.
Alternatively, the film that he wanted to make might have been worse.
Well, I mean, from what I'm reading, I doubt it would have been.
Can you imagine you do all this and he goes, oh, well, Rob Schneider. And you're like, fucking fine, we'll cast Rob Schneider. And then he comes in and he's in the suit. He comes out, he goes, I am the law. And you're like, oh, fuck.
I don't know why.
Kind of excited and wasted.
Oh, man. I don't know why, but this makes me think of the difference between Batman and Robin. And then Batman, the Penguin movie. Forgot what that was called.
No, it's called that. It's called Batman the Penguin movie.
Batman Returns.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It's the stark difference between those. So it's like, that's probably the difference between like what this film turned out to be. It was basically Batman and Robin when he wanted Batman Returns, really.
Was there a difference? You said it was a stark difference. I don't know what you mean.
It's a difference.
Shut up, Alec.
Oh, that is so rude.
Is it because Batman and Robin's like way better?
No, absolutely not.
No.
I think it's because it's way better.
The Room is probably better than Batman and Robin.
Wow.
I mean, by the same token, it's also better than Batman Returns because there's not a bunch of armored penguins armed with missiles walking through going.
I mean, still a good film. Anyway,
I've just read a wonderful quote from the director, and he basically said that he was trying to make the Ben-Hur of comic book movies, but Sylvester Stallone had other ideas.
Wow.
That's so disappointing because it could have been really good, and he fucked it.
Oh man.
I mean, if it was good, we wouldn't have watched it as a bad film, I guess.
It was true.
This is sort of a massive argument between like of just kind of like no he wrote Rocky, and it's like yeah. Maybe we shouldn't let him just have his say on this script. I don't know.
Ain't you the only one here that didn't like Rocky?
I mean, to be fair, I'm also one of three who did. No, wait, one of four who actually watched it. So
Yeah, but I've also seen them before, and I like the first three, and the fourth one's all right-ish.
well, I'm also the only one who thinks Rise of Skywalker was complete dog shit. So you know, there's no accounting for taste.
Oh,
Whoa!
Doesn't that just prove more so that you're just wrong?
No. The rest of the world agrees with me.
Fuck the
Just-
world.
It's just this crazy Amish commune of bee worshippers who think that fucking that shit's good.
Amish bee worship. The
Just burped
bee.
into my beer and sprayed it all in my face.
Good. That is what you get.
Yeah.
'Cause-
Sorry, carry on.
yeah.
You know,
So-
a bit that I really laughed at, I don't know if you guys noticed as well, but you know, at the start, they've got the kind of backstory being read. And there's a line right at the end where it goes like, oh, they were the police, jury, and executioner all in one. And I was like, that's not the phrase. And then they say they were the judges. And I was like, you definitely wrote they were judge, jury, and executioner, they were the judges. And you were like, no, we've said judge twice.
I mean, to be fair, that's how I write a lot of my messages. I'll out and they'll be like, oh fuck, I've said that word twice now, I need to use a different one.
I thought you
Oh,
meant you
sounds-
write it all out, you give it to James Earl Jones to read, and then you're like, oh no, sounds silly.
I mean, everything sounds good in his voice.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I'd be really interested to hear him as Mufasa. That was a really, really old joke at Pat's expense, but that's okay.
Well,
Yeah,
Nice.
if it
Why is it a joke at my expense?
Because when the poster for The Lion King 28, no, whatever year it came out, that cast list came out, you went, I'll be really interested to see James Earl Jones as Mufasa. And I was like, I've got good news for you.
Oh yeah, I forgot it. Sorry, John.
Wait, why is John alright?
I might have butted in. I apologise.
No, Pat, I'm never annoyed at any of you. I'm annoyed at Zoom. Like that. Like I should say, anytime that I'm annoyed about it, I'm not annoyed at any of you guys. It's not your fault. You're not butting in. We're just talking at the same time, and it doesn't work with this. Which, funnily enough, the thing I was going to say was, if it makes you feel any better, Alec, this whole mic situation means that I can't make any of my shit jokes. They're obviously very timing based. So one of you will say something, and I'll be like, oh, I can't talk. For example, when you were like, oh, what was there a difference with Batman and Robin? You said there was a stark difference, and I went to say, no, Alec, that's Marvel, but I didn't get the chance.
I was sorry, and then I wasn't.
You're welcome.
that was a good one. I said that was a good one, John.
Oh, no, it wasn't. No, you're wrong.
Well, it was.
No, Emmanuel, I heard you. The middle finger was for Alec.
I didn't even see it, so that's cool. Oh. Just poke out from behind the trench. Back in.
John, do you know you've actually done something with this pick that would have only been right for you to do? So you've picked the first movie ever to be simultaneously released with a video game.
Oh,
I bet it was a shit game.
I don't know anything about it.
I thought you were going to say the other thing.
What other thing? Oh, what other thing?
The bad movie round rules.
Oh yeah, it's tied with the Fall, which is also quite nice.
What we were going to do with on the pick list, we've got the best scoring movies and the worst scoring movies. And I wasn't going to include any of the picks from this round because we've all meant to be picking a bad movie. And we were only going to pick it if someone's bad movie had done better than a legitimate pick. And it nearly ended this at 4.2. So I was like, fuck, I'm going to have to go back and make us all the BM. Yeah, I'm going to have to change mine and Humphrey's worst films to The Room and The Wicker Man. And then Ben decreased his acting score, so it's now just level with with The Fall. So I put it back.
Not only did I see the messages in the chat about it, I watched as Ben changed his score. I just happened to be looking at the spreadsheet at the time, and then I thought it was Pat at first. I didn't look at the right column, and I was like, "What's he doing?" And then I just kept watching, and then all of a sudden it went 4.
No.
Well, yeah, but yeah. So you've actually narrowly kind of missed having a legitimate pick be worse than a bad movie round pick because
It's still tired though. I mean, it's still there.
I'm keeping it. I don't.
It's fine. Like, you know, the first movie I picked for you guys to watch was like something that I was really emotionally attached to, and you got no respect for me. I get it.
Well, to be fair, I was at work the whole time, so I wasn't actually in the call for that one. So that's all on everybody else, apart from Emmanuel, who wasn't part of the group.
I mean, it's more on you than anyone else, Alec. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know. It's fair.
I do want to say the best thing to come out of this movie. I already had the urge for it anyway, but the best thing to come out of this movie is it just makes me want to watch Demolition Man more. So Pat, you need to hurry up and pick it.
We'll see when I can stick it in.
Yeah,
Hey,
he currently has a backlist of about 500 films.
No, 74.
only 74.
You can do 8 films a year, so that's still quite a lot.
Hold on. I've just listed all the films I'm interested in picking. If anyone else picks it, then I'm happy to just scrape it off.
What is 74 divided by 8?
It's about 10 years worth of films.
I mean, yeah, it's
10 years.
like accurate.
Yeah, it's 9.25, but yeah, I guess if you chop and change it.
Yeah, but
Nothing
I think
changed.
I think you should just like undercut everything and pick Demolition Man so that we can all watch it.
He will pick it 9 years and a quarter into.
Oh, I'll be dead by then.
Oh.
No.
To be fair, statistically, me too. So
Yeah, I mean, I think me and you are probably statistically the most likely. So
we're the only ones addicted to like legal substances. So like,
No.
apart from Ben, he's just surreptitious about it.
I'm currently trying.
He's just all quiet about his drinking. I get all the flack. You're welcome, you big German man.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
Cheers.
Cheers, Alec.
I mean,
Ben doesn't act like an arsehole when he's drunk, so it's not really.
He does. That's what I mean. He's just quieter.
Lemon and ginger tea.
Oh, get off. It's good for my liver.
I did have this earlier though.
I'm gonna do
That's
so.
Panadol.
Okay, so Pat's fucked.
I'm fine.
He's had a desperado. He's oh.
I need
He's
about,
desperate.
I need 5 or 6 of them for that to have any kick.
Oh no.
I can't ever see that name without thinking of the Despacito song, and then it gets stuck in my head, and I fucking hate it.
Oh man,
Sorry, John.
He sounded so serious then.
that time.
I
I
was.
fucking hate that. He was like, I can't speak Spanish, but I'm gonna just bring people in to speak Spanish for me, and then I'm gonna just make $1 million fucking dollars off it.
Yeah.
Cunt.
Yeah.
I mean, you would too if you could.
Yeah.
Totally.
It's like the whole Adam Sandler thing. Like, people shit on him for just making movies with his mates, but I'm like, well, I mean, no, fair enough. Like, if you can basically get paid to go on holiday with your mates, and
Yeah.
like you're gaming a system that's like pretty shitty anyway, so who the fuck cares?
I've only seen 2 Adam Sandler movies, and they were both hideous.
What were they?
They were Click and Grown Ups, and I was like, I don't want to look at this man's face anymore. He's
Really?
just irritating.
Oh man, you gotta watch
Interesting.
Happy Gilmore.
No, I don't.
I don't think he'll like it that much, to be honest, if he doesn't like Adam Sandler. I mean,
I don't like Adam Sandler, and I don't like Rob Schneider, so that's already
So
compounding.
watch Little Nick.
Snyder's in one of those films you watched.
You can do it.
Can I just? I don't know if I'm just like not hearing it. But are you guys all saying Snyder and not Schneider?
Yeah.
Okay.
Schneider.
You say it's Schneider.
Yeah, I know, but that requires.
Who cares?
The
Yeah,
Germans.
none of us care.
Yeah.
Schneider.
Who
The
cares?
Germans who created his surname.
Schneider.
But they
Schneider.
created as well, so who the fuck cares?
Ben.
Yeah, Ben cares.
Yeah, Ben doesn't care either. Why would Ben care?
This Snyder cut.
Is this like where we find out that both Alec and Ben are Nazis, and this was Alec outing Ben, and we're like, oh fuck.
I like the idea there's a Nazi in the group and everyone's like, can't be Ben, be Alec, wouldn't it?
It'd be too like fucking stereotype. Like we can't
Not the fucking German guy.
say it like Ben because like that's kind of racist. Like
Like that Blackadder episode where they're trying to find the German spy, and the first person they went to was the person with the German accent.
Yeah.
I'm just
That'd do.
something because what I was going to say to Alec, which I know he won't fucking watch it, but apparently Jack and Jill is like the worst movie he's ever made.
Yes.
There's quite a lot though.
But let's just have a look at Rotten Tomatoes just to be sure.
But I think you're right. It's one of the worst recent ones.
Well, the audience score is 36%.
Mm.
The tomatometer or the tomatometer, depending on how you want it, is 3%.
Oh wow.
Oh, 3%.
That's gone up.
Can I just say this would be the best reveal for Emmanuel's pick? And he's just like, oh yeah, by the way,
I'm
Jack
picking
and Jill,
Leopard.
just like, oh.
I said it in case anyone's stuck as well, you know. But
3%.
Yeah, I don't think I could put myself through that.
I love you.
Fucking
I
hell,
love you, I
Al
love you, I love
Pacino's
you.
in it. Al Pacino is in a film that's rated 3%.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, what's he done?
It's an Adam Sandler film.
fucking the thing I've been trying to say for the 30 seconds involves Al Pacino, so you'd have found that out as well. Literally the only thing I know about the movie is someone complaining about one of the scenes which involves Al Pacino, which apparently there's a Dunkin' Donuts advert in the movie, like
Oh, God.
in universe kind of thing.
Oh,
Al Pacino walks into a Dunkin' Donuts and it's like, oh my god, Al Pacino, and he goes, it's not Al anymore, and then he goes, it's Dunk, and then the guy goes, Dunk Pacino, and then they do a whole song about it. But the guy who was moaning about this said he doesn't remember. No, he hasn't watched the film, so he doesn't know if they addressed this later on in the movie, and it was actually a joke. But if his name isn't Al anymore and it's Dunk, it would be. Oh no, they say I've done it the wrong way around. But basically, they mix up like Al Pacino and Dunk Pacino is what it would be, but they say Dunk Pacino in the advert. And yeah, it's just to give you a little bit of insight where Al Pacino's career went.
yeah.
You know what?
Oh,
I think you probably massacred the delivery of that, and I think I'd have laughed exactly as much.
No, Alec, that wasn't a joke. Like genuinely, that's something that someone complained about. And
Oh no, I believe it's in there. I'm just saying, like you got it the wrong way around, and I think like even with that, it would have been as funny. Like if you'd done like 10 out of 10. Sorry, continue.
Yeah.
it wasn't supposed to be funny.
Oh, well, it's really effective then. Sorry, I would. Okay, that's right. I'll drop it.
Awkward.
Yeah.
Oh, back to Adam Sandler.
Yeah, he
Hey.
sucks, doesn't he?
Why are we talking about Adam
Yeah,
Sandler?
it's-
That's the worst case scenario.
Jack and Jill isn't even his worst rated film. His worst rated film is The Ridiculous Six, 0%.
That's got that
Wow.
spat from Family Guy in it, isn't it?
Oh,
Man.
Seth MacFarlane, isn't
And Emmanuel's pick is Ridiculous Six.
it? Six. Why?
What were you going to say, John?
It doesn't matter now.
Oh,
Yeah. My only other point about the film was the production was pretty good. Like, it looked pretty. Like,
I was like, yeah, I thought the matte paintings and stuff they were really cool, but I hated the look of everything else.
I thought it was really cool aesthetically. Like I think
I think they did a good job.
the practical effects were really cool. Like that what was it, the ABC warrior or whatever it was.
Yeah. I thought they did really well for when it came out and whatnot. Even though, yeah, I thought they did really well.
Like the
David the score did.
like the robot bloke, you know, the one with the screw thing in his head. Like the prosthetics on that were just amazing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Imagine how long it took him to get ready for makeup.
I think the bloke's actually an amputee, and that's how they got the. It makes sense for him to be an amputee.
That's funny. Dan.
Don't quote me.
When you add prosthetics onto something, you don't suddenly lose a limb.
Yeah, but they sometimes they can green screen it.
Yeah, but it clearly wasn't green screened. Like you can see all the green screen in this movie.
Mm.
Yeah.
He was an amputee, but you saying it, I didn't go, oh man, they did a really good job. I just went, hey, that makes sense. Like,
Whenever I see like Spud from Train Spotting in things, I'm always just like, oh, you poor. Oh, he's the guy with the cleft.
Oh, okay.
But like, he's also in Wonder Woman, and he's like an old like sniper and stuff. But like, he always just gets like these kind of crappy roles because I imagine he's not much of a hunk. And I just thought he's a good actor. I just feel like he just doesn't get given stuff, and then he's in this guy going doing this, and it's like
I did find it that they literally just went, so we. Like, let's point out the fact that they're talking about the scorched earth being like the lawless zone. Literally, 4 people live there, and they somehow have managed to survive as cannibals. Maybe that's why there's only 4 of them. Maybe they picked everyone else off. So,
pretty much.
Also, they're all from Southern America. Because, you know, the way they talk and the, you know, attachment to religion is just like, man, you could have picked anything, but you decided on that caricature.
That was so man.
But most importantly, they're all within walking distance of Max von Sydow.
Yeah, and also the fact that again, something else that doesn't make sense. So they've clearly they're cannibals. They've eaten other people. They didn't seem like they were going to eat those 2 until Rob Snyder decided he was religious, and they were like, "Oh, a brother, we'll eat him." And then I'm like, "Right, well, hang on. So that either means that you only eat people that share the same faith as you, which is fucking weird. And so does that mean that you ask people every single time before you eat them, or 2? I don't know, because it doesn't make sense.
I feel like that's a sure sign of having your religion have no one in it.
I think it's the number 2. Camilla was just like, the fact that some form of Christianity has survived all this mess, for them to go tell it on a mountain and be trying to quote scripture while a plane is falling that they shot. It's just so funny. It's like, what are they doing?
Sounds like this plane that's full. It's probably got like charitably. It's probably got about 30 people in it. and that crashes, and all 28 other people die, apart from the 2 named characters, and they've gone like, yeah, get Stallone and fucking Schneider, like just.
No, I guess to be fair, we don't see every single person dead. So like, while there's a lot wrong with this movie, I feel like the rest of them could have easily been taken by the cannibals and were just like chopped up for meat already.
Yeah.
Even then, why would you save? Why would you only?
Because movie.
Plot armor.
Oh yeah, okay, that's right. Just move.
Because it's Judge Dredd, right?
Yeah. Plot armor. You gotta write plot armor in, you know?
No, that's how you wind up with John's shed.
What?
It's the Mandalorian.
Yoda.
It's got Mandalorian on it though.
But clearly Alec didn't watch it. He thinks this is the Mandalorian.
Oh, believe me, mate. I fucking watched it.
Right. Anyway, before we oh shit, there was one other thing I was going to mention that was really dumb.
Cannibals.
No, it was after that.
Incinerator.
Stop.
Get him, Pa.
No, I can't remember. So we should just move on.
Get him, Pa. That's what I remember of that film.
You killed my brothers. You like he actually says their name, but I can't remember. And he's like, and you killed my pa.
My pa.
My Pa.
Also, it makes sense that he even got back up, considering they established the whole thingy, and then he was turned off, but got up anyway.
I got some like minor ones. Like he says, you can have the android if it's deactivated, but deactivated means you just took the wires out, and then if you just put the wires back in, it comes back, and it's like that seems like an unregulated, very easy to exploit thing.
He's his own super genius, so he used his immense hacking skills to touch 2 wires.
Imagine going. Sorry, mate. What are your hacking skills? What is your level? And he goes immense.
To be honest, with how corrupt the system was, I wouldn't be surprised if Rico knew that the people who decommissioned these things literally just disconnected some like 2 or 3 wires and then gave it to them for some money, because they be broke, they can barely make it by, they're triple the capacity of the city. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they just went, here you go.
I hear deactivated, and I think it's meant to mean permanently disabled, and not. Oh no, just do this.
Well, no. To be fair, while I agree with you that it's dumb, like the term deactivated, that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't just reactivate it. But it's silly that they'd because it's something that you'd expect from like even in the real world about like, you know, in this country you can have old hunting rifles as long as they're not functional, and that would be, I think, the term I don't remember if they said deactivated or if they use a different word, but that would be the kind of term you'd expect them to use, is like it can't have the ability to function. Like, and even then all they had to do was have a scene with him like being like, I could use that. They don't have to have the bit of him being like, I know exactly where this is and I know how to do that and that. They could have just been like, I'm gonna take it, and then he takes it and gets someone to fix it, rather than him just going bah, 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 bah.
Yeah, I mean that would have elongated the movie, and I'm against that in general. So like, Diane Lane says that they know that you can replicate badges and helmets, and I think that's a bit of a fucking stupid thing to establish when like, the helmets can literally cover like most of your face. I feel like that's a dumb thing to include if you want this premise to work.
I don't get that complaint.
It's just if your main police force is like you can only see the chin, and then all you got to do is get someone. If you can just replicate badges and helmets, then what's to stop you from just replicating the badge and the helmet, giving it to some guy, and then shooting it up? Like, why is that not a lot more commonplace?
I feel like the whole reason they know it can happen is probably because that did happen. But then, like, there's no organized crime in that city clearly, so it's not a thing going on.
I think that's pretty. To imply there's no organized crime, I feel like that's pretty bold.
I mean, there isn't.
There's chaotic crime.
I feel like you would have organized crime though on some level, because like even in the original, I keep going to call it the original, and it's not the original. It's just the one we fucking watched first. But like you get like gang leaders and stuff. I feel like I don't know. At what point can you like copy them and then just like not like mass produce them? And then like you just got all these people dressed like judges wandering around like fucking killing people.
But like again, there's nothing in the movie to suggest there's any kind of organized crime. Like it's just complete chaos. So even if someone could mass produce them, like first of all, you'd need to establish a character or a group that has enough resources to do that. You'd have to establish some kind of organized crime to the point where they could get people to put that on. But then that's an entirely different story point. Like, I do agree with you that it's a random thing to establish just for the sake of the court case scene. But I don't really think it's a problem.
Just it strengthens it the other way if you go, we know that you can't replicate the badge or the helmet. It just seems like it asks more questions, because I get what you mean about it being chaotic, but that's sort of like the surface level, and it's like RoboCop, like the crime. It's like a very like crime-ridden society, but there's people behind it all kind of pulling the strings, and like there's a lot of like kind of corporate level crime going on. So I feel like the idea that you have this like crime city and there's no one who's like, I'm going to make this work to my advantage. I'm going to organize some stuff. I'm going to make it so I can copy these helmets and these things and just frame a bunch of judges. I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like
it's like while I totally agree with you that generally speaking, there's always going to be some kind of organized crime, they do nothing to establish anything of that sort. So you take face value. And then like the people who do actually participate in a level of organized crime are the actual like judges and Rico. So like you see that from that perspective. And I mean, he probably got it from the fucking judges, so it's not really a replica, but he did have a replica of a judge helmet and Dredd's badge.
Also, the badge that he gets, because when he gets handed, I'm going to come back to the prison thing, but he gets handed the badge and it says Rico on it. It's like, I've replicated this badge so people confuse you with Dredd, but it's also got your name and not Dredd's name.
Like, I didn't remember that specifically, but I assume that's just supposed to be like a moment to be like, this is who he is, and this is the signal of like he can come out now.
Yeah.
But obviously, the actual suit he had with the badge was different.
Yep.
Yeah. I just enjoyed it because it's like a little reveal, and he like undoes the gun and he like pulls it out and he goes, it's a gun, and it's like the badge kind of flips out as well and it says Rico on it. I was like, oh, okay.
I think it's just established that he's a judge as well. It's kind of really ham-fisting it.
It's really silly, just that scene in general, because the fact that he's like, put the auto guns on, I'll get him if he tries anything, but let me give him this mysterious package. What is it? Oh, don't worry about it. It's a gun. I'm going to shoot you in the throat so you can't speak. And then for some reason, when you try and activate them, they're going to shoot you and not
the autogun system is like, it's quite ridiculous because the whole thing is like, why it's in an energy field. And it's like, if you drop the energy field to give him something, this is where steel bars are kind of a little better, because you can just hand them through and you haven't got to actually like lower the steel bars to do that. You can just hand it to him. And it's like, okay, well, why has he got the energy shield? And it's like, if you drop the energy shield, then you can, because it's the future, you can have cannons, and they're auto cannons, and they've been, but you have to have a voice recognition thing. And then he kills the guy who's like controlling the voice thing, and then he just walks around and hangs off the ledge. And then the guards come in to investigate, and he goes, oh, cool. And he comes up and he just starts blasting them. And the autocannons have still been activated, but they don't react to that at all.
like, I guess it's trained on him to fire at his command, which is dumb. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not defending. I'm saying, like, trying to make sense of the scene, but it's dumb, one, that he would do that, and two, then they would react to someone trying to make a command that they can't then they can't register it as the right person, so they shoot at him, not at the prisoner that it was trained on.
Yeah, the prisoner's free to just kind of walk around after that.
Yeah. Although that you have reminded me about another really stupid moment of the movie. It doesn't make sense in world or anything. Which is the futuristic billboard.
Yeah, fucking hell. I forgot about that.
Well, when it blows his bow back.
First of all, if it's a physical thing that can actually debilitate the vehicles of this universe, either it should be a constant thing that's there and there isn't a flight path there, everything just goes around it, or it should be like, activated like green red light signals. You could argue that in the future that's the kind of thing they'd do. They'd have, like, at a red light you'd have to look at a billboard. Not
Are you saying it shouldn't be a Crash Bandicoot trap?
Well, not only that, but it's every like 2 seconds.
I really like it as well, just in the shot as well, because Dredd goes through it, and then two guys just kind of like, and they just follow him through it, and then the third guy goes, and it's like closing, and I'm just,
I mean, it's the same as when Rob Schneider's like, "Oh, it's a dead end." He's like, "I know," and then the other guy behind him has more than enough time to do exactly the same thing with his exactly the same vehicle that he's been trained in the exact same way for, but just goes, "Oh no."
I really like the design of like the motorbike screen as well, and it's like if something breaks, you just get malfunction written 4 times.
Yeah, and the way to fix it is just smash it.
Yeah, just fucking punch it with your Sylvester Stallone fist.
Yeah, but they established early on that exact one, like, I mean, they're saying all of them really, but that exact one malfunctions. So obviously, great storytelling.
Absolutely. I had one more. What was the other one?
Was it asking Emmanuel what his movie was?
No. I was going to keep this going for a while.
You can do that on your own afterwards.
Double whammy.
Double whammy.
No, I said that one already. No, you said that one already, and I went on about it.
What about?
I'm thinking about it. Emmanuel, what's your film while we're all away?
Sorry, Dan was going to say something. What were you going to say?
Nah, it's fine.
Yeah.
No, seriously, go on.
Okay. Our film is Shark Boy and Lava Girl.
Oh wow.
Shark Boy.
Fucking lovely.
Wait, is that bad?
What do you mean it's that bad movie?
Didn't it?
I thought it looked alright when I saw trailers for it.
Oh, it was fine until it was the little penguins come out and the little chest plates.
Things you should.
What score did it get in Rotten Tomatoes? I forgot.
19.
Yeah, that's why I had picked it, because last week, I don't know what reminded me of the film. You guys somehow reminded me of it. And then I was just like, oh, it's 2 weeks ago. And I was like, oh yeah, that film. Okay, I'll pick that.
Oh my God.
I think it's decent for its intended audience. It's just that we're not really its intended audience. So,
really?
What the actual fuck is this?
It's one of those good kids films, bad family film. Like, it's bad for the adults, don't get anything out of it, but kids do. So,
yeah.
Like,
I was trying.
Where is it playing?
oh, I can't remember. Let
We
me
have to
check.
pay £20 each.
According to IMDb, it's
Ben, get on it.
It's $2.49 on Prime.
The best thing about this is that the first Robert Rodriguez film in Film Club is Shark Boy and Lava Girl.
oh.
Emmanuel, I fucking love you.
You're such a troll.
You said bad film. I normally wouldn't have picked anything like this, but I was like, you know, this is a decent bad film. One of the last kind of old school 3D films as well. 2005. After that, pretty
I
much
saw
died.
this in the fucking cinema when it came out.
Yeah. Wasn't that bad, isn't it?
Why is she so excited?
My God.
I mean, until I saw Twilight, I forgot that Taylor was in it.
Oh fuck it.
I was like, oh wait, it's young Taylor.
Young
I
Taylor.
forgot he was in this film.
Oh fucking hell! Oh no, I've just put in Shark Girl and Lava.
I think Emmanuel's just determined to shoot my average down.
Sorry, just to I just want to find a little picture there.
It's set on the planet Drool.
I might actually
Yeah.
watch this tomorrow night when I come home from work.
I gotta say, I'm impressed. My Dredd badge is still
Oh
stuck
my
on.
God.
That's a
Nice.
still. I'm so fucking excited. This is dreadful.
Fuck.
Yeah, it is a cool badge then.
Yeah.
Oh wow, Robert Rodriguez's son is called Racer.
It's like
He's so...
call me Speed Racer.
No, but hang on. Can we talk about the fact that his kid's not just named Racer, but his full name is Racer Rodriguez?
Yeah, Racer Maximiliano Rodriguez. Whatever.
This is why you wouldn't bother trying to pronounce it like they do.
Sorry, I'm just making sure I get the whole name in on the spreadsheet. So it's The Adventures of Shark Boy and Lava Girl 3D.
Mm.
Wait, are we watching it in 3D?
I don't
Can
think
we?
You can't watch it in 3D. No.
Is it old school 3D?
Yes.
Where you,
That's all right.
the
I'll move it back to
blue
The
and red?
Adventures of Shark Boy and Lava Girl.
it is.
Oh,
But yeah, the funny thing about this movie is that like I never actually watched it, but I remember seeing a trailer for it and being like, oh, it kind of looks a bit like Spy Kids, and I like that. And then I heard nothing about it for years, and then randomly one day learned that the guy from Twilight was in that, and I was like, oh, okay, now.
oh, I don't know.
I always assumed it was a sequel to Spy Kids until now.
No, it's completely
Oh. Yeah, completely different. Yeah.
say that. I know literally about it and could be talking out my ass, but
Oh no, it is completely different, John. And Dan, yes, it was in the old school 3D at that time. That it was one of the last films before
No.
3D. The old school 3D kind of died before Avatar ended up coming out.
So we can watch it in blue and red.
what I said.
Mhm.
But I guess everyone else is fucking
Oh my. Oh.
like.
Poor
I
John.
mean, saying that, in terms of money, the budget was 50 million and they made 72 million. So, I mean, they didn't actually lose money.
You do know that kids have bad standards, and parents are just going to take their kids to the cinema to watch a film. So
I want you guys to know that I decided to look up when Spy Kids 3D was made because I was like, I wonder if, you know, maybe they came out quite close to each other because they definitely had the same kind of 3D thing going on.
Mhm.
They're 2 years apart, but more importantly, and I guess it's been a very long time since I've watched Spy Kids, but didn't know that Sylvester Stallone is in Spy Kids.
Yeah, he's in it. Yeah.
is he the bad guy or the dad?
Well, his character ain't that different to Judge Dredd, to be fair.
What do you mean the dad? You mean their fucking Italian dad? Wait, I mean, he's Italian, but like he's like the typical Italian. He's. I mean, the name they've given him is Toy Maker, so I assume that's the villain.
Yeah, he's the bad guy. I see him in this. This is weird. There's like in the toy, you probably can't see this, but as the toy maker in this film, there's 4 versions of him. He's dressed in a wig. He's bald. He's got a hat. He looks like he's trying to
my-
cosplay Gandalf the White.
That sounds like my different styles in sixth form.
I don't know about you
Gandalf
having
the
long hair.
White.
Oh,
What's
weird.
sound about Gandalf the White?
He looks like he's trying to cosplay a hippie Gandalf the White.
So, two important things that you guys need to know about the casting for Sharkboy and Lava Girl before we leave is one, that the people who played Sharkboy and Lava Girl are both called Taylor.
That's true. Yeah.
You've been verified by a man.
Just, I was looking at the cast list quickly because I was checking something, and then I just noticed that, and I was like, "That's weird." Like, I know it's not weird because they're actors, but it just seeing is weird. But also, Sharkboy's dad, the actor's name is Rico.
Oh. Is he the clone of Sylvester Stallone?
No, what you missed is me saying that I was looking up Spy Kids 3D and Sylvester Stallone's in that. So there's a lot of crossover on here.
I've never seen Spy Kids. Ed is telling me that it is a classic.
It is.
It is.
Probably shit because when I was a lot younger, but I remember liking it when I was younger.
I remember going to the cinema. I don't remember liking it.
Yeah, but you're
Oh.
a get so.
Oh. I
Oh
think,
no.
from what I remember, I think it's a decent kids film. It was one of those things that captured imagination, and I think it was decent at the time. As an adult, you'd probably be like, okay, but yeah.
That'd be a compliment.
I think that's the face we're all kind of. This is Pat's soul throughout Bad Movie Round.
See, I've just looked up Spy Kids on Rotten Tomatoes, right? 93% on the Tomatometer, or 6% from the audience score. Not right.
Wait, 26.
No, 46, but still bad.
46.
I thought you just said 6.
To be honest, a lot of those people who rated it were probably adults forced to watch it.
Well, that's probably what it is. Well, yeah, it's one of two things. Either they've been paid to give it positive reviews, or it's just a load of adults going, yeah, kids will love this. And the kids are going, no, we won't.
I think I've just looked a core memory because I was actually with like my cousin, and like we were like my mum and dad were like, we're gonna go take you to see a movie, but you guys are just gonna go and see it, and we'll just be in town or whatever. What do you want to watch? And my cousin was like, oh hey, let's go see Shark Boy and Lava Girl. And I distinctly remember my parents like breathing a sigh of relief. And I always wondered why. But in retrospect, it's all making sense.
Like I guess, like thinking about it, it's probably quite hard for adults to accurately rate like a kids movie because either I feel like depending on who you are, obviously, most people would probably either rate it really unfairly because they're judging it as an adult, or they'd rate it really unfairly because they're like, kids will like any fucking shit. And I guess the sort of the sign of a really good kids movie is that it's not just for the kid. Like that's when you can be like, oh no, there's actually stuff in here for the adults as well.
I think the sign of a really good kids movie is when you look it up on Wikipedia and one of the menu drop-down options is lawsuit. The total professional wrestler Dean Roll, who trademarked the name Shark Boy in 1999, sued Miramax on June the 8th, 2005, claiming that his trademark had been infringed and demanding any money, profits, and advantages wrongfully gained. In April 2007, the suit was settled for a disclosed amount of $200,000.
Oh man!
Used to have a Shark Boy
Sounds like a
mask
waste
for
of
that
time.
wrestler.
Yes, there was a really easy way of getting around that. Just put a hyphen in it.
Talking about bad kids films and films that like kids might enjoy but are actually aren't necessarily as good for the adults. The Emoji Movie, which probably plenty of you heard of.
No.
Okay, maybe not. Basically, the Emoji Movie, it's got terrible ratings: 3.3 IMDb, 7% Rotten Tomatoes, and 12% Metacritic. The thing is, I watched this with my goddaughter, and I actually thought it was pretty good.
Emmanuel,
Like, huh?
I'm going to stop you right there and just point that Patrick Stewart plays a poo emoji. So no.
I stand by what I said. I thought it was a decent movie. But it's one of the it feels like a budget Pixar movie. So like I see what they were going for, and it actually has some decent meanings or kind of lessons to be learned for younger kids. Try not to get too attached to technology and actually live in the real present in the world. I see you shaking your head. This is why people rate
Who
it
though?
so-
Because
so
Humphrey's
bad.
also shaking his head.
Because you can't look past the stuff like that to
Oh.
see that it's actually a
Ima-
pretty decent film.
The reason why I'm shaking my head is because I saw a trailer for it like a couple of months ago, because someone I was watching streaming was like, I can't remember why exactly, but they brought up a trailer for it, and I was like, holy shit, this looks like possibly the worst idea anyone's ever had, and it should be taken out back and shot and buried and forgotten about.
I think Rob should play the trailer.
No.
Rob,
For,
Rob, but
No,
when
no.
you edit this, can you just zoom in on people for that?
what?
Because everybody's face was a fucking picture for that. Humphrey was going.
Just blinking.
John
like
was.
that.
Mm.
Emoji
Don't get me
thing.
wrong, like,
But-
if you think it's a movie, that's fine, but it's not. No, seriously, like I've never actually watched the movie, obviously, but the trailer, like seeing some of the acting of like James Corden and
Oh fucking hell! Oh,
Don't get me
Even-
wrong. I would have never watched it if it wasn't for a kid's obviously watching it. But having to watch it with them, like I was actually going like, you know what? This is actually pretty decent. I was kind of surprised at the fact it got like 1 out of 5 in a lot of places. When I thought I would have given it at least a 2.5 or 3. I was like, you know, this is actually pretty decent. But
hang on,
there you go.
did you just say you'd have given it a 2.5 or a 3 and you think that's decent?
Out of 5, yeah.
Yeah. So 5 out of 10 or 2.5 out of 5.
That's still not decent.
To me, 5 is decent. It's average film.
What? No, 5 like it means you made a movie. And that it's not bad.
Yeah, but it's in the middle. It's like it's not really good, but it's not really bad. It's just neutral.
Yeah, that's not decent. Decent has to be a level of positive. Middle
Okay.
means that if like okay, everyone rates things differently. Fine. So like we all register the numbers differently and whatever. But at least to me, the middle is literally the worst rating you can give something because it means it's fucking so unbelievably like unemotional and doesn't grip you in any way that you just don't care about it.
Interesting.
Fucking hell, watching Humphrey during that was brilliant.
I was just watching the trailer and I got into about 30 seconds and I was just like,
I told you, bad. I've just been watching Alec belly laughing the whole time, and it's really fun.
it's just like really, it's about an emoji that can't pull a face. It's like,
Well, this is the other thing. Like, just the idea of the movie alone, I hate the idea of the movie. Just the fact that they've gone, kids use emojis. Yep.
So will we.
we've got money to burn. We just get some famous people to do some voices.
Oh man, and like,
I mean, they did make a lot of money from it.
of course they
50 million budget, 217.8 million box office.
It's because there's fucking stupid kids that watch it.
I
Oh,
mean,
it's got emojis in it.
made an angry